At Calgary Wild FC, we honor and acknowledge that this land belongs to the Treaty 7 territory. You're never too young to shine on the world stage when you have the mindset to chase your dreams. Join Serita, Kahli, Alix, and I as we discuss what it takes to compete on the world's biggest stage. Welcome to The Wild Journey, the official podcast of Calgary Wild FC. I'm your host, Farkhunda Muhtaj, midfielder and proud community ambassador for the Wild. This podcast is all about building a deeper connection between our club and you, giving our incredible fans a front row seat, uncovering stories of passion and purpose beyond the pitch. On today's show, I'm joined by two of our speedy wingers. First, we have Serita Thurton, a University of South Florida graduate with a bachelor's degree in health sciences and a strong international and NCAA background, including 2 bronze medals with Canada's U17 and U20 national teams. Alongside her is Kahli Johnson, a dynamic forward for the Matildas. A standout in Australia's youth national program, Kahli has represented her country at the U20 FIFA Women's World Cup. Both of these footballers have achieved quite a bit at their young age. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, quite impressive at a young age to be able to play in a lot of World Cups. We'll definitely get there, or a lot of international tournaments, I should say. Serita, I'm going to start off with you. You've mentioned that your parents are your role models, and they've influenced the woman you are today. Can you walk me through how they've influenced you and how you've achieved a lot of impressive things at the young age of 23?
I feel like they just raised me really well. Like, I feel like people always, not just me, like both my siblings, I have 2 younger siblings. I feel like people always compliment us on how just well we've done growing up and stuff like that, and just our character and stuff like that. And I give all the credit to my parents. I think, I don't know what special sauce they have going on, but I think they just did a really good job with all 3 of us. I think both my parents have worked really hard throughout their whole lives, and I think they've built such amazing lives for not just themselves, but for all 3 of us. So I think just my childhood growing up and the childhood that they built for me, I think is what sculpted me to be the woman that I am now.
Yeah, and you grew up in Toronto.
Yeah.
On the outskirts in Ajax. What was that like, that football growing up in a city that's actually quite active?
It's so much fun. I think just how many teams there are, you're always playing somebody new. And the amount of kids that want to play soccer in Toronto, I think was really cool. Like, there's so many people you knew that played soccer, and it built a huge community. We always say like the soccer world is so small, and I think playing in Toronto made that especially true, because you see people all the time from so many different like areas in the GTA. So I think it just made it really exciting. And I think the clubs in Toronto do a good job of like harboring the love for the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And your parents were probably there every step of the way watching your games. And
oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe running their own personal training sessions, I'd bet.
They weren't as qualified to do the personal
yeah.
But they definitely drove me to every single practice and every game. I think before going to college, I could probably count on one hand how many games they missed. Like, wow. They were very present and active in my journey through soccer, which is great.
That's amazing to hear, and to know that you're from such a supportive family. I know, Kahli, you, on the other hand, started playing football to run down some of the energy you had, because you were extremely energetic and always were running around, I guess. But I would assume football wasn't enough to run down that energy. What were you busy doing, and how is being raised in Australia quite different from the North American upbringing?
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 other siblings, so definitely they helped with getting out some of that energy. I think, anytime at home, you'd always have someone to play with, which was really nice. Like, I loved growing up with that many siblings. It was awesome. I'd say probably maybe being like near the beaches and kind of having that a bit more of a laid back lifestyle maybe was a bit different to life, at least in Calgary. I think like living near the beach, you're always able to go for a swim, and that was really cool to grow up near it. Just always made it a good time, and after school or whatever, you were just able to go, and that was really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's amazing. It's too bad we don't have beaches here, but you're close to the river. That's good enough, right, in Calgary?
River will do for now.
The river does for now. Were you a multi-sport athlete at any point, or was football just the sport that you mainly played?
Not really. Like, I kind of did other stuff, like not really seriously. Like, I played a bit of basketball at one point. I played a lot of what we called touch footy, which is, I don't know, it's like rugby, but instead of tackling, you just have to tag them.
Okay.
But yeah, like kind of a bit like that in school. But to be honest, it was soccer all the way. Yeah, I started when I was about 3 and just, yeah, I haven't really stopped since.
And you knew from a young age, I think you said you were around 12 when you knew that this is what you wanted to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a moment. I remember like going to a tournament when I was probably like 11, 12. And afterwards, I actually remember my mum being like, wow, I didn't realize you're kind of good at this.
Oh, that's fun.
It was probably like a state or a national tournament. I can't really remember what level, but like I think she kind of realized that maybe I was actually all right at it. And she was like, like if you really like want to buy into this, like you can make this, something you do for a long time. And I was like, yeah, may as well give it a go.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to also fall in love with it, which obviously helped. Having an enjoyment for something, it helped me with being able to do it all the time. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Right. And I'm not fully familiar with the Australian league, but we didn't have a professional women's league until this year, of course. And so for us, many individuals growing up in Canada, you couldn't really dream of something at home because it didn't exist. Did the Australian league exist while you were growing up? And was that something that you would attend their games and you felt inspired by firsthand?
Yeah, I think like early on, I probably had a similar experience to a lot of other girls my age, which was I was like, I want to play for the Socceroos, which are our men's national team. And then my mum had to tell me that unfortunately you can't play for the men's national team. But I think, yeah, as long as I can remember, like from when I really wanted to get into it, the league was a thing. So we were lucky enough to get our league, I want to say in like 2009 or 10. So like pretty early on. That could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could be completely wrong. But for a while,
yeah,
it's been around. So yeah, as I was growing up, I did. There was a league at least. But I think, yeah, also just at my club, like I had some players that were playing professionally. So that was kind of cool to be able to see that they were able to start doing it as a job and know that it was an achievable goal if I wanted to get there.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And you never look back ever since, I would assume.
Yeah, definitely.
And Serita, for you, obviously graduating high school, there wasn't the opportunity to play professionally here at home. But like many Canadian athletes, you wanted to pursue being a varsity student athlete, except on the other side of the border. What led you to decide to move away from home to pursue being a varsity student athlete?
I think as I grew into playing soccer and like I started playing at a higher level, I started seeing like girls that were older than me. That was kind of the thing that girls were doing. Like I think when I was 12, I started playing up, and then so we go to showcases in the States and stuff like that, and that was kind of just the norm. So that's kind of what my goals became. And then as I got older, I think I committed to South Florida when I was going into grade 11. So it was, I don't know how old you were then, like 16 or something.
Yeah.
But I never had an issue about going somewhere far. Like I didn't really care what the distance was. And I kind of varied my factors in terms of like what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go somewhere in the science route, and that school has a really good health program. And then also soccer wise, they were a competitive team, and like I liked the coaches and the style of play they played. So that was kind of my process in terms of deciding where I wanted to go. And like the campus is beautiful. Tampa is such an amazing city. So I think everything kind of worked out perfectly in that sense.
Yeah, very hot city though.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
I can't imagine playing in that heat every day.
Yeah, preseason's definitely the worst because you get there like middle of July and August, super hot, super humid, but you like kind of get used to it. I think the evening games are manageable for sure. It's those afternoon games that you're like really dying, but I'd much prefer playing in the heat than the cold. I'll say that any day of the week.
Yeah. Well, then that was the perfect spot for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Now, Kahli, for you, on the other hand, I was chatting with Jen and Christy earlier today, and we were just talking about how educated our team is and everyone having so many degrees. And then I was like, I wonder what degree Kahli has. Not to put you on the spot, but
Totally thrown under the bus.
How educated are you?
But you went straight from high school straight into professional football. What was that transition like for you? Because for us North Americans, it's more common to go through the varsity student athlete route and then go into professional football. But you chose to bypass that. Do you have any regrets, or is that the best decision you've ever made?
Yeah, I think like obviously the college, university kind of scene is a bit different in Australia compared to in North America. There's not really, like, if you at a high level of football, you're not going to play for a university or anything like that. Like, we have a professional league, so you go and play for a professional team. There definitely are girls that study alongside that. Like, it's not like that's not a thing, but I think just at the time that I was coming through, the league was expanding. Like, it was becoming a lot longer. I was still traveling a lot for under 20s, so I wasn't really at home. And like our universities and stuff, you kind of have to be in the city that your university's in. Like, they don't. It's very hard to be traveling around for weeks at a time and still do exams and stuff. So I did look into it. I did apply. I did get in.
Okay, amazing.
But I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
The answer, but yeah, definitely coming out of high school, I kind of played my last year of high school. I played for Sydney FC at the same time. So that was a little bit annoying, having to study and kind of balancing that, but I'm glad I only had to do it for 1 year. Like, some girls do it for a few more. And then I was lucky enough to continue on that trajectory, and so I'm from Sydney. Went to high school in Sydney, and then got a contract in Melbourne, so ended up moving there, and just lived there full time and played football.
So do athletes or footballers in Australia start out quite young? So you'd be around 16, 17, or even 18, I guess, when you graduate from university. And if you wanted to continue football, it would just be professional right away?
Yeah, so I'd definitely say the age was a bit younger a few years ago. I think like kind of 16, 17 is when girls were getting their debuts at professional clubs. Now maybe it's a little bit later, kind of 18, 19.
Yeah.
But there definitely still are some young girls that are with professional teams. Obviously, just because it's there. So if you are an up-and-coming player, like, they're going to pick you up and you'll be able to play with them, which is a great pathway, obviously, for girls to kind of be able to come through and at 16, be signed to a club as a train-on or that kind of thing, and then be, led into professional football. So yeah, with my age group, I think I was 17 when I made my debut, so I think that was pretty normal. And
yeah, and it's interesting because would you be interested in pursuing an education at some point, a university level education? And the reason why I ask is because you have a career. Football is your career, and you're doing incredibly well at it. And a lot of people, the assumption is to go to school in order to achieve their dream career, but you've achieved it without school.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, there's different ways to look at it. Like, there's definitely, and I've had friends who have chosen studying over football now, and they've, gone to uni and done 4 years and gotten a degree, and then they're like, I'll do football or focus on football afterwards. I think just with my journey, the way it worked out is kind of going into football first. I also think, like, kind of the way university works in Australia, you kind of have to know, you like apply for the degree, not for the university, if that makes sense. So like, you have to pick what you want to do before you even apply. And it's expensive. So I didn't really have a perfect idea of a degree that I wanted.
Yeah.
As a lot of people don't at 18 or 17, 18. So I think for me, it just wasn't my priority.
Yeah.
But 100%, like, one day I'm sure I'll go and get a degree of some sort. There's like, I think obviously football's great and I love it now, and I'm definitely going all in now, but I'm very aware that it's not a lifetime job. So yeah, I'm sure at one point whether it's in person or online, I'll go back and do some studying.
And not to put any pressure, because obviously everyone's journey is completely different. And you're
happen soon.
Exactly. And you're doing fantastic. And I'm sure you're proud of where you are. And we couldn't be happier to have you at the Wild. Now, you both are quite young, and not that I'm much older, just to preface by saying, but you both have played in Youth World Cups, and it must be a huge honor to be able to compete on the world stage. I'm curious, have you ever crossed paths and played against each other at those Youth World Cups, or did you miss each other? And what was that experience like? I'll start off with you, Serita.
I don't think we have. I don't know, because I know we were both at the one in Costa Rica, but we were in different groups, and I don't think either of us made it out of our groups.
No, yeah.
I mean,
we're both there.
Yeah, we're both there,
We're
but
there.
yeah, I mean,
So maybe we at one point
or another, maybe
on a
one
bus.
night. Yeah, exactly. Our bus
Not the
crossed
path,
paths.
the bus.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a pretty bad showing that tournament, anyways. So yeah, we weren't crossing paths, but
What year was that?
that was 2022, I think.
Okay, not too
Yeah,
long
the
ago.
summer of 2022. So I mean, I did that, and that was a great experience. And prior to that, I did under 17. So I did that World Cup was in Uruguay. And it was amazing experience. I think just being able to be in both of those cycles, just a lot of learning I got to do there. And I think the advantage of being able to do those kind of tournaments and play in those environments is that it gives you an idea of what it's like to play professionally. Like, I feel like there's a lot of similarities, and they treat it like, even though like in those situations, like I was 16, one of my first camps, and still like they treat you like you're a professional. And I think that was a great advantage, because then later on when I went to do other higher level things like this, for example, like it doesn't feel very far off. So I think those were great examples, and I got to play with such great players. Like, a lot of the girls I played with, like specifically in my under 17 cycle, are playing for like the full women's team now. So I think it's really cool to see that. But yeah, really cool experiences. Got to travel so much just through those teams alone. So yeah, love being able to be a part of those.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what's the biggest learning from those experiences playing at the world stage?
I would say not even just there, but just in any situation. But I think there specifically, I learned that confidence is everything. And I think knowing that being like whatever team you're on, like you're there for a reason and you belong there. Like, I think realizing that, like, I think being in those scenarios quite young, I think, and being on the younger end of the, like, at least the under 17 cycle, I think sometimes I forgot that. So I think realizing like you're in those situations for a reason. So you got to rely on your skill, rely on the player that you are, and just know that like you belong in those environments.
Exactly. I mean, football's so much of a mental game, right? And confidence is the best accessory you can wear. And at the end of the day, how you perform is not going to be dictated by, the technical and tactical stuff. It's how you feel about yourself, how confident you are in your own abilities, and how you're going to show that every single day. And it comes from a place of just mental toughness and working that part of your game every single day. Now, for you, you've also been at Youth World Cups, and that must have been impressive despite not getting out of the group stage like you mentioned, but still huge honor. And that's led you to even bigger things, playing for the Matildas now. Walk me through what that journey was since you were 15 years old to now playing on that senior national team and scoring on your debut.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it feels like a long journey. It's, I think from the first camp with under 17s, I think I was like 14, 15, kind of the start of that cycle. So yeah, it's been a long time to kind of go through the youth age groups and come out the other side. But it's very cool because, I think back to the group of girls I started with, that first couple years, and there's probably only like 3 or 4 of us still playing football now. So I think it's a pretty proud thing to know that, like, you start in there and they say, oh, only a few of you are going to make it. And you're kind of like, nah, like, why wouldn't we all make it? Like, but it's true. And so I think it's kind of cool to think back to that. But yeah, so kind of came through under 17s, got some amazing experiences with the 20s, going to Costa Rica, and then obviously Colombia this past summer was incredible. And that was really cool. Definitely taught me a lot, kind of going from a younger player in one cycle to then an older player. You kind of see both sides of it, which is awesome. And then being involved with under 23s. And again, like each time you move up, it's just that little bit more professional, a little bit more of a higher level. You kind of have to go through that adjustment phase of maybe the first couple camps, you're not really there. And then kind of like, all right, like getting there. And then, yeah, obviously recently getting to be in my first senior national team camp, which was, I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think when the email came through, I just like couldn't believe it. Like, it was just a moment that you're like, wow, like this is truly like what, you know, I've been working towards or kind of wanting to happen since I was 12, 13 and, you know, thought it could be a possibility. And like, you know, you spend all that time, you watch all those games of them playing and even seeing what they did in 2023 in the World Cup and being like, damn, like I just want to be a part of that team. And you kind of know girls, like you start to play with all those really up there players and then finally getting to have my opportunity. Yeah, it was everything I could have wanted out of the experience, to be honest, like getting to do it in Australia as well, playing with girls that I've played with for a long time and then also like such high caliber players. It was just awesome. And then, yeah, I mean, getting to score, that was just like, I still don't know how that happened. Like, I couldn't even believe that I was starting the game. Like, I think when I found that out, I was like, what is happening? And then, scoring that goal, I was just like, this is unbelievable. So it was definitely an incredible experience.
Yeah, like a fairy tale in many ways, going through the youth system, doing very well, and then getting your debut with the Matildas and scoring is a dream come true. What is something people don't know about this journey? Because you said it was a long journey, and I'm sure it was as beautiful as it was. There were moments that may have been frustrating or difficult that people now may look at as a perfect journey for you, but you know how much work and commitment went to where you are today.
Yeah, I think it's very easy, and like I've definitely done this, to look at people and kind of be like, wow, like they just have everything that, you know, they go for. They have it so easy. Like every time they just get into every team, they're always starting whatever. I think my journey was, at least like in the Australian kind of way of going about it, in terms of the kind of the journey there, it was definitely a lot different to a lot of other girls. I was dropped from the, you know, youth national teams 3 or 4 times, like continuously in and out of camps. I was not one of the mainstays in the beginning. Like when I was younger, kind of for about 3 or 4 years, I really struggled to kind of consistently be picked for those teams. So it was definitely something that I was like, is this going to happen? And kind of at that age of like 15, 16, 17, where you're really deciding whether this is something that, you know, you're going to go fully into or whether you're going to have to go to university and go get a real job. So that was definitely really hard. I think like, and only, you know, people that obviously are in my inner circle and saw the journey would know. But like, I just did it a bit different, I think, to other girls. Like, we have I don't really know, it's called the Institute, but it's like kind of the team that everyone who wants to be, you know, at that next level goes to. And it just wasn't feasible for my family for me to be able to go there. And so I kind of did it a bit of a different way and was able to get there in the end, which was just a really cool thing, I think, and a great lesson for me to learn. Because I think now that I'm kind of at the back end of that, playing in professional teams, I definitely learned how to deal with that adversity of like not being picked in teams, not being in starting lineups really early on, from when I was like 14, 15. And I think I've been able to use that now to kind of help with, obviously you're going to face adversity. So I think I'm maybe able to deal with that a bit better than some of the other girls I played with, which is really cool. Yeah. But yeah, I think definitely, as you said, like people look at that journey and they're like, wow, like she went from this team to this team to this team. But in reality, like there's been so many ups and downs and definitely moments where I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it. Yeah. And so I think this past couple months of seeing how that's paid off has been really cool.
Exactly. And it's an important reminder of how persistence pays off and always believing in yourself and understanding that the journey is going to be bumpy. There will be good days, bad days, good seasons, bad seasons. But ultimately, if you are committed to your craft, you're going to achieve what you hope. Serita, you joined the Wild 2 weeks before the inaugural match in Vancouver and made your mark pretty quickly. What made you choose Calgary?
Whoa, the list there is
Honestly,
the real Serita came out.
Oh, honestly, it all kind of fell into place pretty well. I finished school in December, like that's when I came back home to Toronto, and I was just training a little bit while I was home because I hadn't been home in like 4.5 years, like consistently. So I was home for a couple months, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was looking at teams in Europe a little bit, but nothing that I was really interested in. And then Calgary reached out to me. Originally, it was in February, but things didn't actually work out until end of March, and it was kind of like it was the last week of March. They reached out and like sent everything, and it was like that Monday, and then I came to Calgary that Friday, so it was like super fast. I like packed pretty light considering I'm a heavy packer and headed over. But yeah, honestly, it was just perfect timing, and it felt like the right option for me. And now being here for 3 or however many months, I can confidently say that I think it was the best decision that I could have made. So, yeah.
What's the biggest difference between Calgary's environment and Toronto's environment that you feel?
Let's be careful what I say. I think Calgary is a much smaller city. I think there's pros and cons. I mean, the traffic here is a lot better than the traffic in Toronto for sure. I mean, just being home, I think I could say a million great things about Toronto, but yeah, I think like the people in Toronto, there's a different type of culture. I think here it's a bit more like, I think when people hear of like the Southern hospitality kind of thing, I think Calgary's like that vibe, but in Canada. And I think Toronto is a bit more of that big city, like fast paced energy. So I think there's pros and cons to both. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Are you enjoying Calgary at all?
Yeah, I do like it so far. Yeah.
Have you explored Banff and the surroundings, Lake Louise?
You haven't been to Lake Louise yet. It's definitely on the bucket list, but I did go to Banff with my mom when she came during like that Mother's Day week. So we went with a family friend that lives out here, and we just did like a little day trip, but it was really nice. It wasn't too busy like when you went.
Yeah.
It was like right before like the rush of people coming, I feel like. But yeah, super beautiful. I mean, that's another thing. Like you don't have the mountains out in Toronto, so I think it was nice to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's so true. Anytime I want to do something beautiful in Toronto, the first thing I think of is Niagara Falls.
No, literally.
And here in Calgary, whenever a family member visits, the first thing I take them is to Banff and Lake Louise. I'm like, This is Niagara Falls to put out. Enjoy. But for you, Kahli, what inspired you to travel over 13,000 kilometers to come to Calgary?
Yeah. I think, so I played at Western United, my previous club in Melbourne, for 3 years. And it was kind of coming to the end of that third season, and things were going all right. And I think I kind of knew I wanted to make that transition overseas sometime soon. I think, like, obviously playing in Australia, it's amazing that we have that league, but I think I knew for my career, I really wanted to go overseas and play. Like, that's what it was. One of my big goals as a kid was to play football professionally overseas. And so, I think I had an agent, and she obviously knew where my mind was at with that. And it all happened so quickly in terms of like when it actually happened, as it usually does. But I was like in my kitchen, it was like the morning of a game, and I got a call, and she was like, "So you have a meeting tomorrow morning with a team?" And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "How? Like, what do you have planned for the day?" I was like, "I have a game." And she was like, "Oh God, I should have waited to tell you this later." But it was all right. Like, got up, had the call, and it went pretty well. And did a bit more research. Obviously, the league wasn't a thing yet, or it hadn't been a thing for a year. So kind of had to ask a lot of questions of people, get a bit of advice from different people on what they thought. But at the end of the day, it seemed to tick all the right boxes, and it seemed like a great opportunity for a first time playing overseas. And I couldn't be happier with how it's all worked out, and feel like it was definitely the right fit for me.
I mean, there was definitely not a lot of research you could have done.
No, it was like Canadian League. They're like, what is that?
Oh, nothing popped up at all. But no, that's impressive that you've your goal was to play overseas, and now here you are doing very well. And you also had some Canadian teammates in Australia. You played with Jackie beforehand. So did that influence your decision to come over to Calgary specifically?
From like first being connected, no, which is I think really funny. That it ended up being the same team. Like my agent and all that stuff was kind of independent of Jackie being here. And then after I got off that call, I first thing I did was look up Calgary Wild because I hadn't. And then I see like Jackie's face pop up and I'm like, no way. Because Jackie had left the previous season and she'd be like, guys, like I've just got this amazing opportunity closer to home. And we're like, okay, great. Like, and that's as much as I'd heard about her playing in the Canadian League. And that's kind of all I knew about it, to be honest, was through Jackie leaving Western. And then I was like, okay, so that was my first message. I was like, hey Jackie, just got off a call with the coach, like what do you think? And then I also found out Ali Green, who I've known since I was like 10 years old, and lived very close to, was also at Calgary. So that was that, I don't know, that kind of felt like it was written in the stars a bit. And I was like, what are the odds that this random team that had nothing to do, like me being connected with it, had nothing to do with these two, and then I know two people on the team. So it kind of all worked out well.
Yeah, football's such a small world.
So small.
Even though it seems big, everyone knows everyone, somehow you've connected to a player.
Yeah.
At some point. Serita, for you, playing at home must mean a lot in front of friends and family. What was it like when you returned to Toronto to play them in Toronto?
I was so excited to like go home and play in front of friends and family. I mean, I hadn't played in front of like my friends and family in such a long time, and especially like that many. Like I think I had 20 people that came to that game, and it was so exciting for that to happen after being away from home for over 4 years. Honestly, it was just so much fun. Like I enjoyed it so much. I think playing against people that I knew, and I think that goes for like all the games we've had. Like I know at least one person on every team, but I'd say it was just so much fun, so exciting. I think this league in general, like I didn't realize how impactful it was going to be until being a part of it. Like hearing about the different teams and everything, I heard about like how important it was, but like I was a bit naive to that, and obviously it's new, so you don't want to like get too excited about it because you never know. But after like playing in our first game and playing in Toronto, like people are so excited about this league, and like little girls especially, like they're so excited to watch us play. And I think it's not only impactful for them, but it's impactful for myself. And like, I'm assuming everybody else on the team, especially the Canadians, because I mean, obviously we didn't have that. And I think being a part of it, like I think we've played 9 games now, like it's been so amazing to see. And like, there's always a new girl that comes to our game and says like, oh, I love watching you play and stuff like that. And like, I didn't expect for anything like that to happen. Like I thought, okay, I'd play my games, I'd get off the field, go home, and then we do it again. But I think every game day is so exciting specifically because of that alone. So so far it's been so great to see, and I'm so excited to see how it grows, not only over just this season, but over the next couple years. So yeah, it's been exciting so far.
Yeah, it's been nice to see how fascinating the NSL has been since the first inaugural season. I think what they've done really well is, and I've mentioned this quite a bit, is built a strong foundation right from the beginning. And that's only going to grow and grow the fan base, grow the partnerships, and so much more. And I think a lot of leagues, the reason why people hesitate to go to is because it has nowhere near what the NSL has, which is unfortunate because many of these leagues are in like their 10th or 15th year of operating, whereas we're ahead of them in the first year. And again, that's a kudos to everyone that's involved in Diana Matheson and her visionary leadership behind everything. You have mentioned that your goal is to be a role model for Black athletes. I had Deanna Zumwalt on the podcast during our first episode, and she was in tears because of you signing for the Wild and how much it meant for her daughter, Fabi, who is a Haitian Canadian. What is it that you hope to achieve throughout your playing career as you continue to inspire the young generation of Black female athletes?
Well, I think specifically being here, I think it's more about representation. I feel like obviously like coming from Toronto's so multicultural, there's so many different races. Like when I was playing in Ajax and even the other teams I played for in the GTA, like there was just so many Black girls on teams and stuff like that. And then going to college, I started to realize like that's not as common as I thought. Like I honestly thought that was a normal thing. And like in college, I think there was maybe like 4 girls of color on our team at one point. And then being the only girl that's Black on the team, that's just it's so new to me. Like, and it's not an issue per se for me. Like, I'm still comfortable, but it's something you notice for sure. And so I think just being a face of representation in the city of Calgary is really important because, like, even though you may not see it as much, and obviously I wasn't fully educated on what Calgary is like, but just for the Black girls that are in Calgary, you may not notice, like, they have someone that they're able to look up to. So I think while I am here, I think that's really important for me to be that face for them. And I think whether it is however long I stay here, if I go somewhere else that is in that similar kind of situation where Black girls aren't as represented as they should be, just being that person that people can look up to and kind of not aspire to be, but like, like have someone that they can relate to at least.
And that's a huge responsibility that you have taken upon your shoulder to be a role model and someone they can look up to. And I always say representation is so important because you might not know it, but a young girl is playing football today or tomorrow because of you, because they saw you, because they came out to a game and feel like they belong. And it's so true. Growing up in the GTA, it's very diverse. Mm-hmm. You see people of all backgrounds, whereas I've noticed in Calgary, I've visited many female clubs, and all I see is Caucasian young girls, which, again, happy that young girls are playing, but I'd love to see more diversity when it comes to structured sport. And that's why at the Wild, what we're trying to do is just break down those barriers, make it more accessible, and allow people to dream like yourself. Kahli, for you, I know you've mentioned that one of your mentors is Tim Cahill, who is a superstar former Socceroo. What about his journey stands out to you that makes you feel inspired by?
Yeah, I think he was an incredible football player for Australia. Obviously, he's a legend there. But I remember reading his autobiography from a very young age, and it just really stuck with me because it was very much about a young kid who kind of wasn't always the first picked, wasn't, at the kind of top of kind of his age group and stuff like that, but just kind of persisted and kept going and kind of did it a bit differently, like went, just took a chance. And I think that was pretty cool to kind of see how amazing and what a great player he became. And, I think on my journey, I can kind of relate to that a little bit. Like I went to Western United, which that was the first time they had a women's team. So that was the first year for them. And then I think a few people were like, why would you leave Sydney FC, such an established club, to go there? But it just felt like the right move for me. And then similarly coming to here, another inaugural team. So got to stop making a habit of that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that kind of storyline of his journey really stuck with me. And then I think also something he spoke about a lot and really was a big advocate for was just how hard work pays off. I think learning that from a really young age and kind of seeing that for myself was really cool and definitely helped me get where I am today. In terms of just knowing, if you just keep practicing and do something again and again and again, like you're going to get better at it and then you'll see that pay off. So that was a really cool lesson to learn from his journey, and hopefully I can keep doing that in my career.
Have you ever met him?
I haven't. No, I don't know if I ever will, but
you definitely will. I mean, playing for the Matildas at some point, I would imagine. But no, fantastic. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I do want to start off our rapid fire now. So what I'm going to do is have some fun with you all. I'll ask you one question at a time. It'll be different questions, but please answer as fast as you can with what comes on the top of your mind. Alrighty, so Kahli, what is your dream stadium to play in?
Old Trafford.
Old Trafford. Are you a Man U fan?
I am.
Are you? It must be rough nowadays, hey?
Yeah, I'm trying to get through the rough patch.
Yeah,
trying to see it out.
The golden era has ended.
It has.
Alex Ferguson left.
Yeah,
but I'll give you that. It's a beautiful stadium. What is a must-have item in your carry-on, Serita?
I think lip balm. I can't have my lips dry. I feel like everyone notices.
Oh, yeah?
I have to.
I mean, they're definitely not dry now. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
But Calgary is a very dry city.
Yeah.
I remember when I just moved over, I was like,
It's rough.
shedding.
Yeah. Skin dry as ever. Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was crazy. Alrighty, Sydney beaches or Canadian lakes?
I mean,
Be careful how you answer.
If anyone feels differently, come to Australia. I'll show you around.
I agree. I
and
haven't even been.
your mind will be changed. I promise you.
Off-season trip to Australia.
Yeah, everyone can come. Everyone's invited.
And Kahli's our tour guide.
Yeah, I will.
I love that. No, Australia is beautiful. I mean, I'll give that to you. Your favorite quote,
Oh gosh,
Serita?
I don't know.
So on the spot.
You can make one up. No one will ever know.
Blah, blah.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's literally up on our in the tank room. Yeah.
Usually
behind.
No, I was like, oh,
No, in the change room. That's what's put up.
oh yeah.
But I also
that's a great quote.
That's
yeah, I think that's Kahli's.
I was literally
Kahli's
that was
favorite
what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's
You
like
just said it. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you prefer to play in the heat or the cold?
I have to say cold. I don't know if I haven't experienced it as much as Serita has, but like, I mean, I've played in some pretty hot places and it's just like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah. And no, I agree. I'd rather do cold. Serita, what was the first football jersey you owned?
It was a Neymar jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a big Neymar fan.
Was it a Brazil or a club jersey?
Brazil?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the national team you...
Yeah, I mean, back when Canada's men's team wasn't making it in the World Cup, that's who I was rooting for.
Yeah. It's funny because growing up, thought Canada didn't have a men's national football team. It's just because the women were impressive and all over the place, and then you never heard or saw anything about the men.
Yeah.
But then I knew Dwayne De Rosario played on the team, so I'm like, okay, there must be one. I just don't know what they're doing.
Play.
But, you know...
Yeah, the women are just always killing it. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
But they've grown so quickly in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And of course, we support them now.
Yeah, 100%.
Now that they're very successful.
Yeah.
We totally support them. I'm kidding. Through the good and bad, we'll definitely be supporting FIFA World Cup in Canada.
2026.
Yes, 2026, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. So better stay tuned for that. Well, thank you, Kahli and Serita, once again for joining me. If there is one piece of advice or a quote that you'd like to leave us with,
I would say just trust in yourself and believe in your worth and your talent, and yeah, that can take you so far.
Awesome.
I'd just say find what you love and do it. Like, don't worry about anything else. It'll sort itself out.
Thank you so much, ladies,
Thank
for
you.
joining me today, and I enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Wild fans, enjoying what you're listening to? Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more content like this. Now let's get back into the episode. Welcome back to the Wild Journey. A true trailblazer, Alix made history as the first female AUS player to compete professionally and play in the UEFA Women's Champions League. With a deep passion for the game and a commitment to empowering players, she now leads the charge in building our roster and making key decisions on player signings. Alix, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Absolutely. You're a former professional footballer and a standout Canadian university footballer as well. You're originally from Calgary, but decided to go play across Canada. What was that experience like, and how did it end up leading you to playing professional football?
Yeah, the decision I went to school at St. FX in Nova Scotia. That decision was a lengthy one. I was really on track to go to the NCAA, kind of like everyone around me was doing. And it was really last minute that I had a change in heart, and I ended up scrambling a little bit to apply to Canadian universities. And I was really focused on Queen's, actually. And then my brother went to St. FX. He's 3 years older. My mom's from Halifax, so I had a connection to the East Coast already. And I went to visit, and that was a done deal for me. I just fell in love with it out there. And I think part of it was I did grow up in Calgary my whole life, and so I wanted to get away from home. And yeah, I spent an amazing 4 years there. It was also a little bit tumultuous at times. I didn't really go there for soccer. It was really the first time in my life I made a decision for me that had nothing to do with soccer, which was really empowering, but also came with its difficulties. Because I didn't actually get recruited to that team. I actually just applied to the university and then wanted to play on the team. So it was a little bit of a different dynamic. And so, yeah, I mean, I almost left the game after my third year of university. It was pretty, as I said, tumultuous, and we went through some hard times as a team together, and I stepped away, and then we had a change in coaching staff, and that brought me back in my fourth year. And I really owe that year to being the reason I think I went on the path that I did, because I was able to find my love for the game again, which was huge for me. And I don't know how far in you want to get to it, but I ended up coming back to St. FX a couple of years later, and that's what really set me on the path to playing professionally. I graduated with a geology degree, and so I got a job, corporate Calgary, working in oil and gas. And it was a couple of years in that I realized this just wasn't for me, and I really missed the camaraderie and like being on a team. Everything about playing soccer gave me. I was really missing that. And I made this wild decision that, I mean, there's a whole story of how I made that decision, but I quit my job and I started playing again, and I went back to St. FX 2 years after I graduated, which was a really interesting experience. And we won our conference championship that year. It was only the third time in team history. And it was that really, I played the best soccer I ever have. And from there, I just didn't look back, and I set out to play professionally.
Wow. And where did that professional career take you?
Yeah, it was shorter than I would have liked. And it was difficult. It took me actually about a full year from when I went back to St. FX to actually get a professional contract. Mm-hmm. I think I was a little naive to the process, and even just from then until now, it's come so far with just the number of agents working in the game and the opportunities for women. But for me, it was very, very difficult, and I did get an opportunity. I played in Serbia, which, to be honest, I probably couldn't have pointed to on a map before this opportunity kind of came to me. But they were a Champions League team, and so that's what really drew me to the opportunity. They're a top 30 European team. And so I got the call. I said yes, and I was on a plane 4 days later across the world to a country I've never been. And yeah, so I played there, and it was total culture shock, which I think a lot of players like myself coming from Canada experience. Mm-hmm. You just kind of dropped into a new country, new teammates, often don't speak the language. And so it was difficult. I spent a lot of time by myself, really got to know myself, learned, how to be alone, which was really important growth for me. But yeah, as I said, I would have liked to continue playing. I had some opportunities to play in Spain and Sweden, and it was a really hard decision to make, but I had some health issues that really started when I was abroad that really actually made it unsafe for me to live in a foreign country without access to healthcare. So that was essentially what brought me back home and having to find a new path.
And when you came back home, you started off a female-led, or you founded an agency called Shift Athletes. Mm-hmm. Now, was this as a result of your experience abroad and some of the maybe challenges that you experienced, and you wanted to ensure that other females, specifically Canadians, had more opportunities to go over, but also opportunities that aligned with them and wouldn't lead to such big culture shocks?
Yeah, that was a huge part of it. And I had about 4 years from when I got back to Canada to when I started that. So I had a lot of time away from soccer, actually. I actually did another degree in journalism during that time. And Shift Athletes was actually a bit of a COVID project. Okay. But it was at a time that I was really reflecting. I was able, I think, to actually look back on that and sift through it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I also had time with COVID, and there was a lot of discussions happening around women's sport in general at that time. And, I was hearing some things about maybe a league coming, and there's just more conversation happening in Canada about women playing professionally. And I was starting to see more try and do it. And I was just hearing so many stories of players that were just in these nightmare situations. You know, they were, because you're kind of put in a situation where you have to take any opportunity that comes your way as a Canadian.
Yeah.
You're going to Serbia, okay.
Absolutely.
It's an offer in Turkey, okay. And I know I'm not alone in that. And so I was hearing more and more stories like that, and players who would go for a year, go for 2 years, and then come back and call it quits. And I find that really devastating. It's disheartening. And we have so much talent in this country. And so I really wanted to help those players that were like me, that we stayed in Canada, and also ones that went to the NCAA, but the players that felt that they didn't have anywhere to go after they finished playing. And so that's where Shift was born. And I didn't want it to get big. I never went out to start this big agency. I only ever wanted to work with, 4 to 10 players max. And so that's what I did. And it was really like word of mouth that players would come to me. And I'm proud of the work that I was able to do with that. I was able to help a handful of players get their first contract. And it was a crazy time, but it was a cool thing that I got to do.
Well, no experience will ever compare to the joy of signing your first ever contract. And so to be able to be part of people's journey is impressive. Now, what is the process of actually becoming a FIFA agent? Because a lot of people think like you can just start off your own agency, represent players, but that's far from the reality. You actually have to go through courses, be licensed, registered, and then work with different transfer windows. And there's so many rules and laws around the game. How daunting was that experience learning and then actually applying it and seeing how difficult the football market actually is?
Yeah, looking back, I am kind of like, wow, I don't know what business I thought I had doing it, but I did it. And I think that's something about me is I tend to do things. I don't really think about all the other things and how hard it's going to be. I remember just making the decision that I was going to start this agency, and I casually told my roommate, and then the next day I had like incorporated a business. Yeah. Which honestly, that may have been the hardest part of everything.
I agree.
And business taxes.
That's such a pain.
Yeah. But anyways, there is a whole lot that goes into being an agent. And I mean, into working with a club too, there are tons of regulations that people don't know about, and then a lot don't follow, which is also the difficult part of it. And so it was actually around the time that I started my agency that FIFA was implementing the exam, and you have to be licensed, because before that it was kind of the Wild West.
Oh gosh.
Anybody could call themselves an agent. Anybody could do deals. So it was really unregulated. And so now, there's a whole exam you have to do. There's study books and there's tons of manuals FIFA provides. So really, I just read them back to front. And I also really leaned on people in my network. I got connected to one person who was an agent for a while, and I was very fortunate to connect with him, and I learned so much just being able to ask questions. And that's really what I tried to do, especially being an agent in Canada. You're so far from where all of these deals are actually happening. And that makes it actually surprisingly difficult, because a lot of the time, if they're in Spain and they're working with a Spanish club, they can just go see them and they can have that conversation in person. But for me, there was such a barrier with language and with distance. And so I operated a little different than I would say the average agent, where I was happy to share commissions because I just wanted to do right by my players. This wasn't my main source of income. And so I connected with as many agents as I could in as many countries as I could. And I made some really good relationships that I still maintain now. And they helped open doors for me. And so by working with someone else, I was able to open up more opportunities for the players I worked with.
Yeah. And with your experience being an agent, are you now more empathetic and understanding, being a technical director and having maybe persistent agents constantly ask you questions, or maybe agents that are new to the line of work and aren't fully understanding of the laws and regulations of the NSL?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm so empathetic. It's very difficult to be an agent. I'm happier to be on this side of it. I really missed working with a team and being part of a club. But for sure, it's difficult being in that position. And I always want to do right by them because I want to do right by the player.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get in the way of a player having an opportunity just because an agent doesn't know something or if they're being difficult or whatever it may be. So I'm very happy to share information, and I just operate from a place of honesty too, because I didn't like as an agent when a club's giving you the runaround and not really being direct with you. I prefer to just be honest and be transparent, and you're more likely to get agents coming back to you if you build a good relationship with them.
Exactly. And you're a huge advocate for women's sport in general, specifically women's football. How I've heard many times you mention that this is your dream job. Being the technical director of this club or any club is a huge honor, but to do it in your own city, I can't imagine how proud you must be to take lead and take charge. What led you to taking on this role right from the beginning? How did it come about?
Yeah, I often feel like I kind of knocked down the door by myself because as soon as I heard this league was actually happening when Project 8 was announced and Calgary was one of the 2 founding teams, I knew that I had to be a part of it, and I knew that I wasn't going to be an agent forever, and I did have another job at the time as well, but I had never felt like in love with my job, and I say unfortunately, but sometimes I wish I wasn't that kind of person that needed to love their job, but I had never had a job that I just like loved and felt good about what I was doing. And so it just felt like such a natural transition from all of my experiences of, you know, as a player. I did a bit of coaching, certainly not at Lydia's level, but I did a bit of coaching. I did a bit of analysis. I did a bit of commentary. I've worked in all sides of the sport. And even through my journalism degree, you know, I was doing some writing about women's sport, and I just never found the right fit. And this job just felt like it was a culmination of all of my experiences, and it always just felt a little too good to be true, to be honest. Like when I learned more about what a sporting director does, I'm like, that just sounds so perfect.
Yeah.
Because I also don't really like to do one thing. And what I really like about this role is that it's so dynamic. Like no day's the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very fast. But I like that. It keeps me really engaged, and it's really exciting to get to do it in year 1 too.
Yeah. And you never stop, right? You're always on the lookout. There's always something to do. There's always additional things added to your plate as well. But building a full player roster from scratch is a rare occurrence for a technical director. Where did you start? What was your vision? What was the recruitment process like to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I often say I'm glad I don't have to do that again. It was I found it an exciting task. Like, obviously, it was, you know, October, and we're like, oh my God, we need to recruit 20, 25 players. But I found it really exciting because I already knew the players that were all over the world. I feel like I had a bit of a head start just because of my work as an agent. I was really in tune with the market. I already had all these amazing contacts at clubs and agents and players. So I already had a good idea of where to start. I had a list of players that were our top picks, I guess you could say. And then it was just a matter of going through it. You know, you're figuring out, when is a player available? Do they even want to come to Canada? You know, there's so many different factors. And then it was just a ton of conversations because you also want to get the right players in the door. You know, you may have had a player that's top 5 on your list, but maybe they're not a cultural fit for the club.
Right.
So I did spend a lot of time on the phone and on video calls, often an hour long. But I really enjoyed that too. I really liked getting to know the players. And yeah, I'm really pleased with, you know, the players that we got in the door. It took a long time. You know, we were still recruiting into March, I think, as every team was. So looking back, it's pretty crazy that we were recruiting for like 6 months. But
yeah, well, at least you don't have to do it again, like you mentioned, because that is a huge task. I can't imagine any sporting director having to do that on a consistent basis. You've always been a huge advocate of developing local talents as well, and it was important for you to have Calgarians part of the team, but also young Calgarians like the Stewart twins. What is your plan for building that player pathway from youth levels to the senior levels of the Wild?
Yeah, that's a critical path. I think in the next stages of the club's development, it was important to have some Calgarians, some Albertans on the team right from the start. But we know that if we want to be sustainable and we want to continue to grow, we need to invest in our local talent, our local pathway. And we don't necessarily know the way forward. Right now we're working with FIFA, we're working with Canada Soccer, so we're aligned across the league on what that will look like. But we are fortunate as a club that we already do have a bit of a pathway through our League One team, and we also have our reserves team who formerly played in the UWS, and I think next year we'll be exploring a different league in the United States. But it is really important to have those pools to pull from, and it's already been hugely important. You've seen with some of our youth permit players we've activated, they've come through that pipeline. And so certainly we want to keep reaching down the age group. So, we're starting to identify players much younger, and we can track them as they get older, and hopefully give them opportunities, like the Clara Monks and Reese, that we've had in the door at just, 16 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. There's so much talent in this city. A lot of them have been youth permit players as well, making an impact both in training sessions and a few of them getting opportunities in a game as well. And why not keep talent that's developing here for sure. I wonder, I'm sure you have a lot of goals in mind for this season and what it looks like moving forward as well. Is there one specific goal that you really want to achieve by the end of the season? And if you do, you're going to be the happiest sporting director.
I mean, I have to say win the championship, right? I would be the happiest sporting director. But we've seen this league is so competitive. Every single game, anybody can win on any day, and that's extremely exciting. And so I think our goals have sort of shifted as the season's gone. Like, we've always had the goal, we want to make playoffs in the first year. And we've spoken a lot at the leadership level. We want to be sustainable and we want to win 3-4 years down the road. So it's not just about this year.
Exactly.
And so I would be really happy at the end of this year. I mean, obviously we win a championship.
On my birthday, November
On
15th.
Far's birthday. Okay. Added pressure. But also that we maintained a culture in our club, the front office side and also the player side, because I think we've done a really good job at that so far. And that's a huge credit to our coaching staff and Lydia, who's been leading that. And so I'd be really happy, at the end of the season, if we can talk to every player on the team and that this was the best year that they've had as a professional soccer player, because I know a lot of them have come from varied, teams. Some were in the NWSL and then some were playing in somewhere like Serbia. And so I think if we're a club that retains players and will tell other players, I had a really good time playing in Calgary, even if they don't stay with us, I think that would make me really happy.
Exactly. No, I agree with you because, like you mentioned, varied experiences from all over the world. Some have been phenomenal, some terrible, if we're being honest. And to be able to say, especially for those that's first contract is here, to say that this was the best year and you want to continue to do it, I think shows how successful the culture is, the environment is, and the competitiveness is. So you travel to all the games, or as many games as you possibly can with your busy schedule. What has been your favorite moment so far for the Wild?
Whoa, I've only missed one. That was just last weekend. Wow, that's hard. It's hard not to say our very first match in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I can't even put into words how unbelievable that was, because it was the first time I got to see these players, these 20-some players that we picked on the field and playing in this inaugural match of the NSL. That was just, I barely remember a lot of it, to be honest with you. Like, it felt like the day it went in front of my eyes. And so I think I have to pick that. It was so special. But I think as a consolation, though, I will say playing in Halifax, I lived in Halifax for about 5 years and I spent 4 years of my undergrad there. So very special place to me. And I had actually just moved back from Halifax in 2023. And so I think getting to play there at Wanderers grounds, which I went to a lot of Wanderers games, the CPL team, that was just a cool experience. And I had a lot of friends there, even though the weather sucked.
Yeah.
I was freezing. And we won that game. So that one was also very special.
Exactly. No, that was a great game to watch. I agree for sure. Before we leave, I want to wrap up with a single question, or more so a statement from you. What is a message you would share with young girls that dream to play for the Wild one day?
Something that I often pass on, and something that has taken me actually a long time to take to heart myself, is you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone to tell you, you can do that, you're good enough to do that. It really only matters to you. So if you give yourself that permission to go after it, then I think that you'll do amazing things. And as soon as I really took that to heart myself, I feel like the doors just opened. And it's a lot easier to be mobile and be able to shift what you're doing. I mean, I've done a lot of different things in my life, and as soon as I gave myself the permission to do that, and that it's okay to do that because you just follow your passion, then you're going to have a better experience. You're going to have no regrets as well. So I think that's what I would say. Just give yourself permission and go after it.
That's such a powerful statement, I have to say. Forge your own path, dictate your own success. And at the end of the day, you will achieve whatever you wish, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Alix. This was a fantastic conversation. It's always nice to pick your brain, considering you have so much going on while you're building a fantastic team. So thank you for all that you do for the Wild.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime. This was fun.
Hey, it's Farah here. Be sure to select the next episode and enjoy some more Wild content. See you soon.